Welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats, everyone. Chuck and Houdini with you. It's January 27th. The Cincinnati Bearcats have a 3% chance of making the NCAA tournament. They were ranked legit 2 weeks ago. Life comes at you fast, folks. Life comes at you freaking fast. We do have some positive notes to get to today. Shon Abaev, the first McDonald's All-American to come to Cincinnati. Yes, it was announced. I guess let's not count our chickens before they hatch, but he signed to Cincinnati. Let's put it that way. But the first McDonald's All-American, as he was named to the McDonald's All-American team today from Calvary Christian in Florida. The first one since Lance Stephenson out of high school. They do have a McDonald's All-American and Dylan Mitchell on the roster right now, but obviously a transfer. Let's start with the fact that the Bearcats have a 3% chance of making the NCAA tournament. Before we get into Shon Abaev, you've had a chance to get some sleep, to get some water and eggs in your system. You still feel the same way about this team? Ass, certified ass?
I'm shocked it's 3%. I'm shocked it's 3%, man, because there is nothing that we've seen that points to, hey, this is a tournament team. Like, I don't even know if we're an NIT team. Like, I'm looking at the Big 12 standings, and I'm sitting there going, we look like a bottom 4 team in the Big 12, which is just crazy to say. But our backs were against the wall against BYU, and I thought, hey, maybe Wes gets the guys fired up, and we play with energy and make things happen. And we look like we've gotten worse. Like every game, it seems like it's worse and worse. Doesn't matter if we're home, doesn't matter if we're on the road. Whether they're playing a man-to-man, they're playing 2-3 zone. It doesn't seem to matter. We just don't have many answers. I guess what the one thing you'd look at is say, like, could we get worse than what we've looked like? It can. I hope it can only go up from here, especially with the schedule that we have. That's the one thing you can point to. But I don't really know how they turn this thing around. I really don't.
It's super interesting, man, because one of our callers, Spencer from Philly, our guy, he had a great point about Jizzle James only be able to play in isolation basketball. He never scores off an assisted basket because that's just not the way he plays. He doesn't cut. He doesn't, the only times he's getting an assist are out ahead in transition when someone's passing it to him and he's finishing that way because he really does go all isolation. And then I think back to the players that succeeded under Wes Miller. Like they had a pretty decent offense when they had guys like Landers Nolly and David DeJulius chucking it up. Perfect. That's what Shon Abaev is. One issue, he's coming in next season, and no one seems to believe in this coach right now. Some people want him fired. If he's fired, then the McDonald's All-American isn't coming in, the second best recruit ever for Cincinnati. It's just a weird situation to be in where you feel like on the recruiting trail, everything is rolling, but everything on the court is not working. And then you look at players that have left the system. I mean, Jameel Reynolds right now at USF is averaging 11 and 7 on 53% from the floor. He's even shooting at 70% from the line. Oh, how nice that would be. And then Victor Locken, who goes to a Clemson team that, made the Elite Eight last year. They're 17 and 4 this year, and he's averaging 10 points a game and 6 rebounds. That's all I need to know to tell me that Wes Miller can't coach, man. Like he can't coach up an offense.
It is weird though, and I tweeted this out that because we were talking about like last year's team was just significantly better, and I was like, I want to look at some of the numbers, and we had 2 double-digit losses in all of Big 12 play. At TCU, I think it was 18 points, and then at home to Iowa State by 11. We now have 4 already, 2 of them by 20 plus. It's not even February. It's really mind blowing. Like we've gotten significantly worse. We're like not even competitive anymore. And the thing is, and I know I've seen some people talking about it, like Wes has like those bags under his eyes. Like we know Wes wants to win games. He's just flat out not doing it. At some point, you kind of are what you are. And he's 6 and 32 in quad 1 games, 0 and 10 quad 1 at home. He's got to figure something out. I would think we're going to make some changes to the staff at a minimum next year because we're stuck with Wes. And like you said, Shon Abaev might be like his life raft. It's the last thing out there. It's the last hope that we have as a fan base because we know we're getting him. But how much pressure are we going to put on this kid? He's going to have to average 20 a night. He's
I mean,
18. He's like 17 years old.
he looks damn good. Wes was in a gym, actually the Utah Jazz's gym, as they're getting ready for the Utah Utes on Tuesday. Mason Madsen, Gabe Madsen. It'll be good to see them. It'll be good to see the Utes because they're not very good. That's a rare road game. It's a quad 2 game. So Cincinnati could potentially win this one. But look, I don't even want to talk about that game. I don't want to preview it. I'm gonna stay up late and watch it because one, it's my job / hobby. And two, it's what I do. I put myself through pain. I yell because I care. I don't care if the team sucks for the rest of the time. I'm going to be there every single night, full uniform, sometimes full uniform. Sometimes I'm in a sweater. But I'm going to be there. I'm going to be watching it. I may have a cocktail or two. Sue me, Tina, sue me. And that's that, man. That's that. But one thing I wanted to talk about with Wes, because it really doesn't make a bit of sense, everything that's happened. You're right. They return everyone that Cincy wanted to return. They lose John Newman. I mean, I guess the big question is it time to start talking about John Newman's jersey being the rafters?
So he was the glue to this team. John Newman, apparently, I was talking about it in the chat. I'm like, should we start discussing Hall of Fame? That's probably for John Newman because he apparently was what made this team tick. And without him, it's like, God, we could like you see those memes with like Wolverine in his bed looking at his phone
Yeah.
with just tears in his eyes, and it's
John
just John
Newman.
Newman staring at you. Yeah. So it's like, was
Oh,
John
dude.
Newman that good? He was great. We love John Newman, but holy hell, to
All right,
turn from like a pretty competitive team just to terrible
crazy.
is wild.
This is how bad my ADHD is, dude. I was getting ready to go on a tangent about the story, and then I started weaving in Utah and said, God bless to the Madsons. And now I'm back to what I wanted to talk about. It was Wes was at the Utah Jazz's gym and gave his, his praise to Shon Abaev, and someone commented under it. Looks like Wes is being held hostage, given this, like, please come here. Please come here, Sean. But no, he's coming to Cincinnati. There is no reason to think otherwise. And it really is a life raft for Wes Miller because some of the best success he had offensively was having guys like Landers Nolly and David DeJulius. And when you watch Shon Abaev's game, a 5-star, someone that everyone in the country wanted, he's long, can get a shot off over anyone. He's got, I mean, the big thing is how are his handles in a collegiate game? Because if they're not good and all of a sudden he gets out there and we're like, why does he look like Josh Reed in a collegiate game, because we've all seen tape of players and then we see them in real time and it's like, you got to have handles. But one thing that we know he has is a shot. This team can't make shots. Just give me the positive spin on Abaev. I mean, it's a tough time for Cincinnati Bearcats fans, but this is a great day. I mean, this is a great day. He's a McDonald's All-American. He's coming to UC. I've always wanted more NBA players. I love the association. I know a lot of Cats fans don't. Cincinnati people in general don't love the NBA. I don't want to lump all Cats fans. I don't know. But there's a reason why a lot of Cincinnati people don't follow it as closely, and it's because there haven't been any UC guys that have been mainstays in the NBA in 16 years or 10 years since Lance, whatever it may be. So having a guy like Abaev, it's pretty cool, man. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and it's so hard to watch the high school tapes because you can have guys that look like the next LeBron, and they end up being really average college players. But he does look like a can't miss guy. His offense is spectacular. He's lengthy. He can shoot. He's got that southpaw left-handed three. And just reading through some of the scouting reports on him from some of these college or high school recruiting guys, we're like the one thing we're not sure is how is he gonna translate to college basketball and not getting the volume. He's more of an isolation guy. He likes the ball in his hands. He wants to shoot the ball 20 times a game. And I thought the same thing coming into this season because I was like, he's going to have to share the rock with a bunch of these other guys. More I look at the roster, I'm like, we might be asking him just to fire the rock up, man. Because
Like Nolly,
right
man. That
now
was
he
our
might
offense.
be our, right. I mean, obviously Wes is going to have to do some serious damage in the portal if he wants to continue being the coach here. But our best offense might be letting him kind of cook, and it sucks to say that with an 18-year-old. But he's going to have plenty of opportunity to score the ball. And with his one thing is he is thin as a board, man. I know we've seen players, the famous Kevin Durant couldn't bench press 135 pounds. We don't know how much that's going to matter, but he does get to the line. From all accounts, apparently he can play defense. Can't find any recruiting tapes that show him playing defense, but I'll believe it because he's so lengthy and quick. So it's great to get a guy of that caliber in the building at UC, because you're right. He looks like an NBA ready guy.
That would be awesome. And if Cincy had a guy that, and it's hard to look ahead that far right now, but having a guy that goes top 5 in the NBA draft, I mean, that would be incredible. We'd be fired up. We'd all have Abaev Nets jerseys or whatever it may be. So we'll see. You know the dad how good was meme? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about.
Well, my Wi-Fi is a little choppy, so I wasn't quite sure what your facial expression was, but I think I'm familiar with what you're referring to.
Why am I forgetting the dude's name? He's involved with it's freaking WWE.
What do I look like, a wrestling fan? I don't know.
You're gonna recognize the name. I'm gonna look him up right now. Now's a good time to tell you that my buddy, this is from a Chatter interview. My buddy Lorenzo Neal was actually a bouncer in college at Fresno State with Chuck Liddell. So how about that for a tag team? All right, WWE. He the president? Like what do I even call this guy?
Vince McMahon? Oh yeah,
Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's WWE, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
So,
WWF, I think, when he started it, but yeah.
Yeah, so it's that meme. Dad, tell me how good it was. And it's like you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
Great.
That meme, like, it's so applicable, like 20 years from now. Like, Dad, tell me how good the 2024 Cincinnati Bearcats were in the non-conference. They were so good, dude. Like, they looked damn good. And then, I mean, against Dayton, they look phenomenal. And then you look at the fact that like Houston was trying to poach Jizzle and teams are going after CMOS, offering serious money. How is his team not good?
It doesn't make a lot of sense.
It's not
it's
great.
Like
I'm just asking like decent. Like they're awful. They're awful.
We just lost by 30 points to BYU in like a must-win scenario. I mean, you saw a little glimmer of hope because, I mean, Arizona State can play. Like, we've seen them compete with some really good teams. Like, we're not even really at the Arizona State level. Like, we're barely competitive. We're 2-6 in the conference. It's a failure from the coaching staff. It's a failure from the players. I mean, you can't just put everything on Wes, but he's the guy that handpicked this team. It's just crazy to come in. I mean, we got all the way up to 14th, 15th or 16th in the AP poll. And now we are nowhere, like we're not even on the bubble radar of anybody anymore. And we shouldn't be. It's just crazy how quickly this turned into, another Cincinnati year wasted. And people are already, acting like the Reds are going to make the playoffs. We already know what that is, guys. That's not going to happen. Hell, Joe Burrow can't even get into the playoffs in Cincinnati, man. We're cursed.
Yeah, and the Muskies right now are like in the first 4 out. If the 3% wasn't enough, the Muskies are up to 29% to make the NCAA tournament. So the 1 year that we can potentially say we beat you guys in the crosstown shootout, they can rebuttal with, "Oh, you guys want to fire your damn coach, and we're in the tournament. So who has it better now?" And I thought they were done, man. I thought Xavier was just absolutely cooked. I thought Shon was a fraud. I thought we'd seen the last of them, and they were truly going to drop off the face of this earth. And they're still there. Cincinnati's still waiting. Here's the deal with Wes Miller, because the situation of bringing in Shon Abaev is crazy. It's wild to me how a McDonald's All-American's coming in, a top 50 recruits coming in. You retained a bunch of players that other top-tier programs wanted. The analytics loved you. Pretty much everyone in the country but Jeff Goodman and Ryan Hammer loved you. Like, you had all the momentum on your side. And then for this to happen, it just really does scream after 4 years. Like, this at Cincinnati is an objective failure. Wes Miller does not deserve a 5th year. When you talk about contracts in general, if players in the NBA or the MLB, whatever it is, don't perform in their first, second, third, or 4th year, they're not usually seeing a 5th, right? I mean, at a certain point, it's just like we're moving on. You're either going elsewhere, we're cutting your ass, like this isn't working. You're not doing anything to help us out. 5 years is a lot. Wes Miller doesn't deserve it, but he's going to get it. It's because of the position that he's put in by the athletic department with the buyouts and everything. I don't know if it's always been this way. I'm sure it has. Lily's depicted it as, everyone always has these buyouts. Wasn't Brandon's like 2 million and we were bickering over that? Like, how the hell did Wes Miller get up to a $13 million buyout for sucking at his job? Like, can you imagine losing your job? Like, he can be as pissed as he wants up there. He can be pulling out his hair. He can be frustrated. And I get it. Like, if he doesn't work out at Cincinnati, he's probably back to the, the MEAC or the Patriot League or something like that to prove himself again, or an assistant coach. Like, you don't fail miserably somewhere and then get a pretty good job. So look, doesn't deserve a fifth year, but he's going to get it. All around, it's just been an objective failure, and we're hoping that Shon Abaev can be the torch that sparks this thing up. And Wes has been recruiting the wrong guys. He's been getting way too many athletes, and he showed us kind of the blueprint in his second year that guys like DeJulius and Nolly, if surrounded by other good players, can win some games.
Yeah, I mean, he's potentially going to have 2 McDonald's All-Americans on the roster with Dylan Mitchell, and he's one of the guys I do hope returns.
For sure.
I mean, that would be wild to have 2 McDonald's All-Americans and still suck. It's almost hard to do. So, I mean, you can look at it that way. Like, I mean, can anyone screw it up? He's obviously going to have to do a ton of work in the portal. He's going to have to get a proven, 2-guard that can play and be a go-to guy, because you can't rely on an 18-year-old to come in and be your go-to player. You just can't do it. He's not Cooper Flagg. Worst case scenario is like Imani Bates, because he does have a similar build, and Imani Bates did not work out well at Memphis at all. So hopefully that's not the case. But you're right. I was trying to look through other coaches, and I know Cunningham gave it to him, that contract extension after doing literally nothing, because we moved into the Big 12 and he wanted the salaries to look comparable. But did we have to extend him into the 28-29 season?
Like, what?
That seemed unnecessary.
Dude, dude, you thought he was a United States Senator in the making. You believed in him more than anyone. Lily said on the last show, it took me until like after the Kansas State loss to even have the thought creep in my mind that Wes could potentially not be the guy. I've been saying this for years. I've said I believe in Wes. I don't anymore, but I believed in him for the longest time. But I always said after he lost to Memphis over and over, and Houston over and over, and Xavier over and over, and never won big games, I'm like, this guy hasn't done shit. Like, if this guy looked like John Brannon and talked like John Brannon, we would have, had our pitchforks sharpened in 2022. Like, that's how much bias comes into play when it's like how you present yourself, which is crazy.
Oh yeah, no, that is spot on. Yeah, if he had the charisma of John Brannon, like, we would have been calling for his job probably year one. We'd been like, you know what, I don't get it. But he's such a good talker. It's hard not to believe in what he's saying. And as I said, he wants to win. Like, I know he's not sleeping. I know Mick Cronin said he can't eat. Wes Miller's not eating either. Like, it kills him. But unfortunately, he is what he is. And it was all Chuck, and I know I said that I truly believed in Wes Miller, and I did. And everyone was hoodwinked, everyone in the country, because this was the year it was like, it's all going to pay off, is year 4. Look at the guys we're bringing in. First time ranked coming into a season in a long time. Like, brought in Dylan Mitchell. We brought in Connor Hick. We brought in all these guys, and it was like, this is going to work. Jizzle James is going to take a big leap. I was going down, and I was wondering, and tell me if I'm wrong, has anyone outperformed expectations? I think every player on the roster, aside from maybe Dylan Mitchell's like on par and Aziz Bandago, outside of those two, I think every single player has gotten worse since last season.
I think Mitchell's been great, man.
Yeah,
he is what
aside
he is.
Him
I mean,
and Aziz.
there have been a few games where he hasn't been excellent, but I mean, you saw what a spark he was in that Arizona game. Completely
maybe Day too.
He's a high-level guy.
What we thought.
Day has limitations, and we knew that he was a backup point guard in the Big 12, and unfortunately, the starting point guard hasn't taken that step that we thought he was going to take, and a lot of it is due to what Spencer from Philly said, who's going to be a regular on the show, by the way, and you can call into these post-game shows. So if you're listening to the audio podcast right now and you're wondering, like, where the hell did all these people join the show, just hop on YouTube as soon as the horn sounds. Houdini and myself will be here. The link will be in the chat. And I was so tired the other day. I was saying, the chat is in the link. The chat is in the link. And then listen in the morning, like, I'm a freaking. But that is how you can how you can join the show. Where the hell was I, man? The ADD's getting me again.
I don't know. I
Houdini's
mean,
just
maybe
like,
that's the show. Maybe that's the
maybe,
show,
maybe,
Chuck.
maybe
I
we
mean,
preview Utah. Maybe we
yeah.
get into Utah's perimeter defense. Everyone's pissed. It really is as simple as that. We know Wes is pissed. In the post-game press conference, he said, teams, this is just what happens in college basketball. Sometimes you get your ass kicked. And I'm like, Wes, you don't get your ass kicked by 28 to BYU. And granted, BYU played excellent. And here's the thing, like Huggins, I remember there were a few years in Cronin too, where they would lay some duds. I remember UC went up to Louisville. I think we were ranked. Louisville had Francisco Garcia and them, and Louisville just crushed us by like 25. It was similar to that BYU game. It's kind of close in the first half. Never thought UC was going to win, and then Louisville just. The difference is it's happening home and away. There's no good wins sprinkled in. Like I remember some of the worst Bob Huggins teams would go up against like a top 10 team in Oregon. You just beat them by 20 because that's what happens in college basketball, right? You get hot sometimes and you win games. You play out of your mind and you win games. This team doesn't play out of their mind. They just lose everything. They're going to win the game against Utah. Wes is going to have a smile on his face, and we're not falling for this shit. We're not. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice. I don't even know what the saying is, but it's as simple as that. Cue up Vince McMahon.
Yeah. Seriously. And I know he said, yeah, sometimes you do get your ass kicked. You don't get your ass kicked every time, though. Okay, like it would have been one thing if we went in there 4-2 in the Big 12 or whatever, 5-2, and laid a goose egg against BYU on the road. BYU's a solid team. I mean, they'll be in that bubble conversation. They might get into the tournament. They can clearly shoot the hell out of the ball, but it's the totality of what we've seen. It's like, well, how many times can you get your ass beat, Wes? And just be like, sometimes that happens. It's like, well, it seems to be every time it happens. Our best win is Xavier. Dayton has fallen off a cliff. Maybe Dayton's not any good. And then you beat Arizona State and Colorado. There's not much to hang your hat on and be like, oh, I see positive momentum. We're going in the wrong direction, and everyone can see it. I feel bad for Wes. I really do. I hate just ragging on him, but it's like at some point, take a look at what he's done, and it's absolutely nothing.
We're in the business of telling the truth, and the truth of the matter is Wes Miller does not deserve a fifth year if you go off merit-based accolades, and he just flat out doesn't. But the situation is he's probably going to get a fifth year, and with that fifth year, he's going to have a McDonald's All-American coming in. We don't get him much in Cincinnati. He's going to have a guy that realistically, like, you watch his tape and tell me he doesn't look like Brandon Ingram, someone that could literally be in the lottery of the NBA draft and be a mainstay in the NBA. Shaquille O'Neal loves him, man. Like, Shaq is super impressed with Abaev. He's picking up steam. He's not even a top 15, top 20 guy like most McDonald's All-Americans are. And he's going to the McDonald's All-American. They'll come out with the rankings. I don't know if they still do April. They used to really follow the rivals rankings back in the day. Not as much nowadays, but I think it's April. And, I mean, you never know. This guy could bump up to like top 15 recruit in the country. He's coming to Cincinnati, and everyone's literal first response is, why? And as the host, I'm sitting here like, don't say that, guys. No, come, Shon, come, Cincy's great. We now have chili flavored ice cream. We got the Cincinnati History Museum. It's great with big clock in front. Oakley's a nice place. Covington, you could go across the river. There's breweries everywhere. It's beautiful. Weather sucks most of the year. I know that you live in Florida, but we'll figure that out, Shon. What else do we have? We have the cheese coney. We have La Rosa's. You can go to a Reds game and wrap them together. Call it a Sky Rosa. We now have legal marijuana. I don't know if you have that down in Florida. I don't know if that they probably should cut this from the show. Realistically, the guy's 18. He can't smoke. I'm sorry. Anyways, Houdini, final thoughts on today's show.
Hey man, Shon Abaev. He's the final life raft of this program. And what a weird scenario that we're all kind of like saying Wes isn't the guy, but we have a McDonald's All-American, quite possibly the best talent that we've recruited out of high school ever in the midst of next season. It's like, I don't know what to think, but we know Wes is going to be the coach next year unless something insane happens. So hopefully Shon Abaev can come in here and really turn the tides, because it can happen. A year makes a hell of a difference. Okay, we saw it last year. We were actually decent, and now we're a complete ass. So maybe Shon Abaev saves it. Wes figures something out in the portal, gets some studs, and maybe we can talk about March then. But talking about March this season, I think that's dead and gone.
Chatterbox Bearcats, find us after every single game. Peace.